Ryan Clark had time today. And when he stepped in front of that mic to go at Dan Orlovsky and the entire echo chamber of quarterback hype merchants, he wasn't just defending Shedeur Sanders. He was calling game on years, decades, of lazy narratives and coded bias masquerading as football analysis. Because let's be real, if you've been following sports media even casually, you know how this goes. Some quarterback with the right look, the right pedigree, and just enough film to throw a tight spiral against air gets anointed the next big thing. And Shedeur?
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Who's been showing out every time he steps on the field? Who's been carrying a team, elevating everyone around him, dissecting defenses like he's playing Madden on rookie mode? Somehow, he's the one getting side-eyed. So Ryan Clark did what needed to be done. He stood up on national TV and torched the blueprint that's been used to prop up average prospects while sidelining elite performers who just don't fit the preferred mold. It all started with a simple comparison. Arch Manning versus Shedeur Sanders. And before anyone says, why even compare them? Well, that's the point. You shouldn't have to. But when sports media insists on ranking potential over production, we have to call it what it is. Selective hype based on comfort zones, not merit. Clark didn't tiptoe around it. He went in. He questioned why Arch Manning, with little real college film, could be talked about as a generational talent, while Shedeur, who's been dominant, composed, and calculated under pressure, gets dissected for being too polished or media-trained. Let's pause there, too polished. As if being composed, well-spoken, and savvy about his platform is somehow a knock. As if handling media like a pro, while still delivering game after game on the field, is something to be suspicious about. That's not analysis. That's bias with a vocabulary. Clark exposed it for what it is. And not just the surface-level nonsense, but the deeper truth, that the system isn't built to fairly evaluate talent when the face of that talent doesn't align with what certain analysts have decided greatness should look like. Shedeur didn't just meet the standard. He rewrote it. And yet, here comes Dan Orlovsky, well-meaning but stuck in the spreadsheet, defending Arch, waxing poetic about tools and traits and football family trees. Talking about ceilings like their currency, ignoring the fact that Shedeur's floor is already higher than most people's ceiling. Ryan Clark wasn't having it. He broke it down play by play, leadership moment by leadership moment, and pointed out the obvious. You don't have to guess with Shedeur. You've already seen it. We're talking about a quarterback who walked into a pressure cooker with a target on his back, with more media coverage than some NFL teams, and never blinked. He led, he executed, and he carried his team while the world watched and waited for him to slip. He didn't. And that's the part Clark kept driving home. Shedeur isn't a prospect anymore. He's a product. He's tested, refined, proven. But he's still being spoken about like he might be good someday, while unproven names are being penciled in as future stars. That's not football logic. That's narrative insulation. It's the media putting a bubble wrap around certain players because it's more comfortable to talk about what's familiar than to confront the rise of someone who challenges the system. Clark's rant wasn't just about Shedeur. It was about every quarterback who's been downplayed, doubted, or discarded because they didn't come prepackaged with legacy hype. He even mentioned Caleb Williams and Trevor Lawrence, guys who earned their stripes early and still had to fight off skepticism from analysts more interested in traits than tape. And let's not forget, Clark wasn't just making noise. He was educating. He pointed out how the metrics that matter, command of the offense, anticipation, pocket presence, leadership, don't show up in combined numbers. You want to know what kind of quarterback Shedeur is? Ask the guys in his locker room. Ask the players who lined up with him, got in the huddle with him, and watched him call the game like a chess master while the media debated if he was flashy. They'll tell you the truth. He's not flashy. He's clinical. He reads defenses in real time. He understands situational football. He knows when to take risks and when to manage the game. And when the pressure builds, he doesn't fold, he focuses. Ryan Clark sees that. And more importantly, he sees how rare it is for a young quarterback to not just survive the spotlight but command it. That's what generational looks like. It's not in the family name. It's in the footwork. It's not in the high school film reels. It's in the decision-making when the blitz is coming. And maybe the most damning part of Clark's takedown? He forced the media to reckon with its own hypocrisy. Because Shedeur has done everything asked of a quarterback. Won games? Handled media? Elevated teammates? Showed toughness, poise, and leadership? Triple check. So what's the holdup? Why is he still being talked about like a maybe, while others are declared next without showing anything? Clark answered that too. It's not about what Shedeur lacks. It's about what the system refuses to see. And now, as Shedeur prepares to step onto the biggest stage of his young career, facing the Detroit Lions in a nationally televised game, the stakes have never been higher. He doesn't just have a game to win. He has a point to prove. To every analyst who said he was overhyped. To every scout who overlooked him in favor of a big arm with a famous last name. To every network still dancing around the idea that leadership, discipline, and intelligence should matter more than arm strength and Instagram followers. This is his moment. And Ryan Clark made sure the world knows exactly what's at stake. Because if Shedeur goes off in this game, if he leads a statement win, if he outthinks and outplays like we've seen him do before, it won't just be a good game. It'll be a reckoning. A moment where excuses evaporate, narratives collapse, and all that's left is the truth. That Shedeur Sanders isn't just promising. He's already legit. And the people who bet against him? They're about to run out of talking points. So now it's your turn. Is Ryan Clark right? Has the media been gaslighting fans about what real QB talent looks like? And are we finally done overhyping bloodlines over ballers? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit subscribe, because when the media keeps missing, we're here to call it out and give credit where it's long overdue. Shedeur doesn't need hype. He just needs the ball. He didn't just defend Shedeur Sanders. He dismantled the structure that's been built to keep quarterbacks like Shedeur in the prove-it category long after they've proven more than enough. And with the Lions game approaching, his biggest stage yet, Clark's rant feels less like a hot take and more like a warning shot. Let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders didn't ask for the media war. He just wanted to play ball. But when you've got one side treating him like a marketing gimmick and the other defending his ability to lead a franchise, eventually the spotlight becomes unavoidable. And Ryan Clark? He stepped into that spotlight with purpose. What made his message so piercing was how calmly he flipped the script. No yelling for effect. No performative outrage. Just facts. Layered, uncomfortable, and backed by actual football reality. Not projections or upside nonsense. He said what a lot of fans, and plenty of players, have been thinking for years. If Shedeur Sanders had a different last name, a different background, and a less composed public image, he'd be getting the same golden boy rollout we see with other QBs who haven't even played meaningful downs. But he doesn't. So he gets second-guessed. The media didn't invent favoritism, but they definitely perfected the packaging. And Dan Orlovsky, for all his experience and insight, walked right into that trap. When Orlovsky started propping up Arch Manning as can't miss, Ryan Clark didn't just disagree. He dismantled the entire criteria behind that hype. He asked the uncomfortable but necessary question: why is projection outweighing production? And that one line? It echoed louder than any stat could. Because Shedeur's game is built on production. He's not a one-drive wonder. He's not the guy who flashes one SportsCenter clip and disappears for 3 quarters. He's the guy who makes winning plays, the kind that turn losses into comebacks and silence hostile crowds. Let's talk about how rare that is. We've seen countless college QBs who look great in the offseason, throwing clean passes in controlled environments. But then they get hit once, rattled twice, and suddenly all those perfect mechanic clips mean nothing. Shedeur, on the other hand, thrives in the chaos. He wants the ball in the final 2 minutes. He welcomes pressure like it's part of the plan. And that mental toughness? That unteachable grit? It's the exact thing Orlovsky and others don't know how to quantify, so they act like it's not real. Ryan Clark knows better, because he's been in locker rooms. He's seen what leadership really looks like. And he knows there's no stat line for everybody in the room believes in him. You want to measure a quarterback's potential? Ask the grown men who trust him to lead them through the fire. That's Shedeur. And when Clark called out the industry, he wasn't just defending Shedeur, he was exposing the system's blind spots. This wasn't about one analyst and one quarterback. This was about accountability. It was about media platforms needing to stop treating young, talented black quarterbacks like maybes, while handing coronations to legacy kids who haven't earned them yet. It was about fairness in coverage and integrity in evaluation. And most importantly, it was about giving credit where it's due. Because Shedeur doesn't just have potential. He's already delivering. And yet, for some reason, he's still not being talked about in the same breath as the quarterbacks he's outperforming. Clark made that crystal clear. The metrics are lying. Not because the numbers are wrong, but because the people reading them are ignoring the context. Shedeur isn't throwing behind the best O-line in the country. He's not surrounded by first-round picks. He's not walking into every game with a 20-point cushion. He's earning everything, every yard, every drive, every fourth-quarter moment. And now, with this Lions game on the horizon, the stage is set for one of those moments where narratives either evolve or get shattered. The NFL world is watching. Not just because of the matchup, but because this game represents everything the debate has been circling. It's Shedeur's chance to walk into a hostile environment against a playoff-caliber defense and show, again, why he deserves to be talked about as a top-tier quarterback. And make no mistake, if he shines, the fallout will be massive. Analysts who doubted him? They'll have to backtrack fast. Scouts who passed on him in the draft? They'll be justifying their process for years. And fans? They'll remember who believed and who bet against the kid who just kept delivering. Ryan Clark already staked his position. He put his reputation on the line because he knows what he's seeing. And more importantly, he's tired of watching players like Shedeur have to fight twice as hard for half the recognition. It shouldn't take a nationally televised game for Shedeur to be respected. But that's the world he's in. And the truth is, he wouldn't want it any other way. Because every snap he plays is another data point. Another dagger to the narrative. Another reason the old model of quarterback evaluation needs to be burned down and rebuilt. This is what real generational talent looks like. Not just because of the stats. Not just because of the wins. But because Shedeur is redefining what it means to lead. He's showing young athletes that you don't have to conform to be great. That you can be confident, branded, expressive, and still be a killer on the field. And when he takes the field against Detroit, it won't just be about the scoreboard. It'll be a referendum. On all the narratives. On all the experts. On all the people who still don't get it. And when he walks off that field, win or lose, you better believe Ryan Clark will be there, waiting with that same energy. I told you. This isn't just about Ryan Clark clapping back at Dan Orlovsky. And it's not just about Shedeur Sanders getting defended ahead of a major game. No, what we're witnessing is a generational fault line cracking wide open. This is about how football talks about greatness, who it chooses to anoint, and who it forces to fight tooth and nail to prove they belong, no matter how much they've already done. And Ryan Clark? He cracked that conversation wide open, live on national television. It wasn't a rant for the sake of airtime. It was a surgical takedown of every lazy take, every coded phrase, every "he's got the tools" comment that conveniently overlooks actual excellence. It was a wake-up call for everyone still pretending this league is a meritocracy when the tape keeps proving otherwise. Clark didn't have to name-drop half the quarterbacks who've been crowned off potential. You already know the type: tall, big arm, nice spiral in shorts and a hoodie, and a last name with NFL legacy written all over it. These guys walk into the combine like it's a coronation. Meanwhile, players like Shedeur have to turn every rep, every throw, every inch into proof of concept, just to get in the conversation. But here's the thing, Shedeur isn't just proving he belongs. He's dominating the metrics the league supposedly values. He's doing everything right: elite accuracy, poise and pressure, top-tier decision-making. He leads without barking, inspires without begging, and executes like a veteran QB1 who's seen every coverage in the book. Yet we still hear things like, "Let's see more." We're not sure how it translates. Does he have the arm talent? And Clark had enough. He saw the hypocrisy plain as day and called it what it is. This wasn't about Arch Manning personally. This was about a system that elevates legacy and overlooks lived excellence. Because let's be real, if Arch Manning had Shedeur's production, we'd be seeing think pieces titled Arch Manning, the Next Brady, and countdowns to his NFL debut. Shedeur does it, and somehow it's met with skepticism? Ryan Clark knew exactly what that meant, and he didn't tiptoe around it. He dragged the spotlight right onto the uncomfortable truth. We don't have a football evaluation problem. We have a bias problem. A media machinery that clings to certain aesthetics and backgrounds and applies them like filters over talent. If you fit the mold, you're NFL ready. If you don't, you're a project. Doesn't matter what the film says. Doesn't matter how many wins you rack up. And Clark wasn't willing to stay quiet while another elite quarterback was forced to carry the burden of outperforming expectation and prejudice at the same time. Now, fast forward to the upcoming game against the Lions. The stakes are sky high. It's not just a football game. It's a proving ground. A moment where performance can either be used to rewrite the narrative or weaponized to reinforce it. If Shedeur balls out, the critics will pivot. They'll pretend they never doubted him. The same folks calling him raw and inconsistent will suddenly be shouting, "We knew he had this in him." And if he struggles? Let's not kid ourselves, they'll pounce. Not to analyze, to confirm their priors. This is the tightrope players like Shedeur walk every single week. One game can validate or erase months of brilliance. Because the benefit of the doubt? That's reserved for someone else. Players like Shedeur don't get it. So when Ryan Clark steps up and says, "Enough is enough," it matters. Because he's not just fighting for one player. He's fighting for a fairer football culture, one where greatness isn't only recognized when it looks familiar. And let's not lose sight of what Clark actually championed during that monologue. He didn't just say Shedeur is good. He broke down why. He highlighted the football IQ, the pre-snap reads, the ability to manipulate defenders with his eyes, the calm under pressure, the precision throws into tight windows, the pocket presence, the timing, the leadership, the mental toughness. He broke the tape down like a coach, not a hype man. And he dared the rest of the media to do the same. Watch the film. Call the game, not the name. That's what the evaluation process should be. But right now, it's become a branding contest. Legacy names come with built-in narratives. Everyone else? You have to beat the narrative before you can beat your opponent. And Shedeur's not just beating it. He's shattering it. Every game, every play, every comeback drive. He's shifting the standard. He's forcing the conversation to evolve. Not because the media wants to give him that platform, but because his performance leaves them with no choice. That's power. That's revolution. And that's why Ryan Clark fought so hard to defend it, because it's bigger than sports talk. It's about fairness, representation, and giving elite talent the recognition they've already earned. So where does this go after the Lions game? Well, that's on the league. That's on the media. That's on the fans. They can keep grading on a curve. Or they can open their eyes and recognize that Shedeur Sanders isn't coming. He's already here. He's not a media product. He's not a highlight reel. He's a complete quarterback. Mentally, physically, emotionally. And if the league wants to thrive in this new era of quarterback leadership, this is the blueprint. Because this next generation, they're watching. And they don't just want to be great. They want to be seen. Seen for their leadership, their intelligence, their resilience, their empathy. Not their last name. Not their height. Not their bloodline. The NFL has a choice. Keep pushing the same old narratives, or finally start listening to the Ryan Clarks of the world, who've lived the game, studied the game, and know when greatness is right in front of them. Because Shedeur doesn't need more doubters. He needs more people who call it like it is. And on that front, Clark didn't just raise the bar. He set the standard. And just like that, the conversation shifted. Not because the media collectively saw the light, but because someone finally stood up and refused to let the old playbook keep running unchallenged. Ryan Clark didn't just defend Shedeur Sanders. He disrupted the machinery that's been churning out one-size-fits-all quarterback narratives for decades. And now, That machine's stalling. People are paying attention. Let's not sugarcoat this. Shedeur is entering the Lions game carrying more weight than most rookie quarterbacks will ever know. He's not just playing for a win, he's playing through the fog of media bias, the sting of undeserved doubt, and the pressure of an entire generation watching to see if this time, talent and leadership will be enough. Not flash. Not nepotism. Not a viral clip. But actual football excellence. And the wild part? Shedeur wouldn't even flinch at that pressure. Because he's built for it. This is a guy who's been under the microscope since high school. Every pass analyzed, every move criticized, every success chalked up to someone else. Oh, he's Dion's son. He's in the spotlight because of the name. He gets the media push. Yeah. And yet, when it's 3rd and 8 and the pocket collapses and the game is on the line, nobody else is making the throw. Nobody else is calling the check at the line. Nobody else is putting the ball exactly where it needs to go. That's not name. That's nerve. That's craft. And that's why Ryan Clark went so hard in his defense, because he knows the tape doesn't lie. It's the narratives that do. Now, here's the twist no one saw coming. All this noise? It's only making Shedeur more dangerous. Because now he's not just trying to prove he can play. He's proving that you can't bury performance under PR spin. And if he shows up and cooks against Detroit, don't be surprised when the tone shifts overnight. Because that's how fast these media machines flip. First they doubt you. Then they defend you. Then they pretend they always believed in you. But receipts are real. And Ryan Clark? He kept his. He was on Shedeur's side before the applause, before the game-winning drive, before the NFL took notice. He saw the truth, and he said it out loud. So the question now isn't whether Shedeur can deliver. He's been delivering. The question is, are we finally ready to acknowledge it? And not just with a quick highlight or backhanded compliment, but with respect. Because Shedeur's not chasing your approval. He's rewriting your playbook. Should media figures be held accountable for their bias in player evaluations? Was Ryan Clark out of pocket, or exactly on time? Drop your take below. And don't forget to subscribe if you're here for real talk, not recycled takes. Because the game is changing. And Shedeur? He's leading the charge.